And it should pop up in a minute or so.
You know what I'll do? I'll copy the link too and paste it in the chat and see if that overwrites the whatever's restricting it.
Thank you, Ed. Oh, I see something in the chat.
Let's see.
We have George. Hi, George.
Hello. Okay, just maybe that'll work.
Yes, that takes me to the Meetup page.
What link are you looking for specifically?
The Teams meeting link, so I can just put it in the event chat of the Meetup. I have put something, but it gives a meeting ID and a passcode, and it's not a direct link to this Teams meeting.
Give me a moment.
I think it's already on the right-hand side, Mangela.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you're fine. I think you can go ahead and get started.
Hi, George. Hello.
I will let Liz do the honors. Liz, do you want to get started?
Oh, sure. Yes. Sorry. I thought you were kicking us off. No problem. Welcome, everybody, to this DUG Meetup hosted by our lovely community member, Mangela, who is having technical camera issues today and is not able to show her beautiful face, but she's definitely here. Thank you so much for leading the charge and bringing the Charlotte group together. We appreciate everybody being here. Before we get started, I wanted to just take a few moments and cover a little bit of information about the Dynamics user group, otherwise known as DUG, in case you haven't heard of us before, aren't aware of all the programs and things that we offer. So let me just get my presentation. So if you haven't heard, Dynamics user group is kind of the newer community, I guess. There has been community around for a very long time. Dynamics user group has quite a long history. One of the things that we like to talk a lot about is that we do offer free membership, and we include everybody from administrators and users to developers and partners. We're an all-encompassing community, and we would love for everybody to be a part of the group. As I said, we've actually been around since 1995, but we started out as an online discussion forum, and we've now grown to be 39,000 members strong across the globe. And so this, again, is a free community for everybody. And one of our main goals is to really help to educate those in our community, help elevate folks in their careers, and to share knowledge and network with each other. By one of the ways of doing that would be to network with each other. In addition to, so you are on a DUG meetup today. This is one of our virtual meetups. We do have in-person meetups too, but meetups is just one of the programs that DUG offers. So we do offer conferences as well. You've maybe heard of DynamicsCon. You can see in my graphic here, we've got DynamicsCon Live and DynamicsCon Virtual. Those are two of our other programs as well. Those would be larger conferences, which bring lots and lots of people together in covering all of the products across the Dynamics 365 products of Business Central, which we're going to talk about today, but we also cover customer engagement, finance and operations, Dynamics GP, as well as the Power Platform. So those are the products that DUG as a whole covers in all of the programs that we offer. We do have online discussion forums where you can ask questions, and there are many experts out in those forums who can help, or if you want to contribute and be a subject matter expert, we would love your participation in those. Our YouTube channel has almost 500 videos on it, mostly from our DynamicsCon virtual events. We record all those sessions. This DUG meetup actually is being recorded, and we will put that recording up on our YouTube channel too. So it's a really great way for folks to learn and get educated when on their own time as well. And then our Team Up program. This is an annual membership program for our partners, but from a user perspective, it's really great because it gives you visibility into some of our partners, maybe some ISV solutions that they offer, or even some consulting services. And in fact, our speaker, Kristen, today is one of our Team Up partners. So thank you, Kristen and Mount Evans Consulting, for your support in that. As I mentioned, DynamicsCon Virtual, this is our free virtual event. It's going to be held next month, actually just in a few weeks here, February 15th and 16th. We are expecting to have thousands of folks come to this virtual event just because it is free. So feel free to join us if you have not registered. Please go to dynamicscon.com. And something brand new that we're doing this year is our second day is called the Microsoft Customer Success Day. We've partnered with Microsoft and we're super excited about this because normally our content and our content that's being held on day one was all voted in by the community. So it was all your voice. But day two is a content that has been procured and has Microsoft speakers behind it. When we have some really great tracks and content that's coming this way, including some pretty big names. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to do so. And then last but certainly not least, we have our DynamicsCon Live event. So this is our in-person event. We're going to be coming together in person for the third time in Scottsdale, Arizona from May 22nd to the 25th. I hope that if you haven't registered for our event already, that you do so. And I do have a discount code here where you can get $50 off of your registration. So our 3-day event, your registration fee includes all the content, all of your meals, a couple of receptions. It's going to be a really, really grand, wonderful time. Does anybody have any questions about Dynamics User Group or any of the programs that I just covered? All right. Very good.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you
yes.
for that high-level overview.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take a minute to introduce myself. I know you can't see me. I apologize for that. But my name is Manjula Dhupati. I live in the Charlotte, North Charlotte, Lake Norman area. And I'm really excited to get together with other like-minded folks here in the Charlotte area. Since this is a small group, what I'd like, if it's possible, is kind of go around the room in order of the meeting, I guess, whoever is there, and let me know where you are. And if you're not from Charlotte, that's absolutely fine. That's a virtual event. And whether you are a partner, an end user, and how long you've used BC for, NAV BC, right? Just kind of a quick, so I'll go first. I work with a partner. My partner's name is Velasio. You could tell that from the team invite. I have been using NAV/BC for about the last 10 years, and I moved to, I guess, North Charlotte, the Lake Norman area. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you, and I'm excited to be hosting this meetup. I'm going to can I call on Angela next? Sorry, just because you're first there in my list.
Okay.
Sorry, Angela.
Hi, my name is Angela Holland. I work for an agency called the Reserves Network. We're a complete staffing, end-to-end staffing firm. We've been on, I'm an end user. We've been on Business Central. We went live 2021, just a couple of years. But before that, we were GT.
Nice.
Beautiful.
For a long time.
All right. George, do you want to go next? I'm going up and then across.
Sure. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is George Delp, and I'm with Stone Ridge Software. So I live in Matthews, North Carolina, so right outside of Charlotte. But today I have the fortune of being in Minneapolis, and hopefully I'll get home tonight, snowstorm permitting. I was supposed to go home yesterday, and the flight today was 2 o'clock, then 3 o'clock. Then 5, then 5:20, then 5:40. So it stayed at 5:40. So cross your fingers for me. So I've been,
and not to make you jealous, it's like almost 80 degrees here, George. Just letting you know.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, my Charlotte buddies and family have been letting me know it's, it's more like, 2 degrees here. And The snowstorm was real. It snowed a lot, and it's still snowing. So I've been working with, I started as CPA years ago, but I've been working with Solomon, GP, NAV, Project Madeira, and now Business Central for, quite some time. These days, I focus a lot on manufacturing, specifically like chemical, pharmaceutical, and food type manufacturers. So I don't have a lot of clients in the Charlotte area these days. It's usually all over the country based on the industry, sometimes a little bit of Europe too, which is fun. So that's what I do. I'm just here to support, though, since I live in Charlotte. I want to, if there's anything I can do to help, foster and grow the community or provide any help, that's why I'm on this call. Thank you.
Appreciate your support, George. Thank you. And thank you, Angela, for starting off the introductions. Tiara, do you want to go next? Did I say your name right?
You did. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes. Okay. But yes, I'm Tiara Hunt. I actually am with Avid Exchange. We're an AP automation solution and work with a lot of customers that are in the Dynamics community. I was at Dynamics Community Summit last October, and it was amazing. It was huge. So it was great to experience. And I'm here to learn more about you all yeah, just to learn more about this community. Yes, George, have you been to our office, you said?
I have. I did the tour. It was, yeah. It's a neat place
Yes,
to work.
it is. It is a nice place to work. And I'm sorry you're in Minneapolis. I have teammates who are up there. They're snowed in. Their kids are out of school indefinitely. I hope you get home.
Thank you,
At least
Tiara.
I'm in a nice hotel that has a good restaurant, so I can't complain.
There you
too
go.
much.
There you
With
go.
heat.
I'm well fed.
With heat, right? With lots of warm and heat on.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you
Tiara.
all.
Edward, I like your colorful background, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It was the one that matched my shirt, I think, kind of, sort of. But my name's Edward Harriff. I'm calling from Atlanta, right near the Microsoft offices in Alpharetta, which unfortunately are closing. But because they built a beautiful facility in downtown Atlanta, it has 2 buildings and just a really neat place. If you ever are passing through, I encourage you to go visit. I've worked in the industry since it used to be Damgard, Navision, Great Plains, and Solomon, long time ago, but focused on Dynamics since 2009, and internationally, and work with users, partners, Microsoft directly, all around strategic sales, marketing, and I've done a lot of speaking engagements and basically just help facilitate the industry in any way I can. So like currently I work with, I'm actually teaching people how to work conferences and how to get the most out of going to DynamicsCon or Summit or Inspire. But I'm also working with iPaaS solutions that work with Dataverse and other applications around the no-code, low-code world. But I'm just connected, so I'm open to connect you to anybody. I'm big on networking. I encourage you to, reach out. I'll find you somebody that hopefully has the answer for whatever it is that you need. So.
Thank you, Edward, and thank you for joining all the way from Georgia. We like our Georgia friends, so thank you.
It's on the way to Disney World, right? So
True, Disney World. Liz, is it okay if I pass over you and Kristen go to Gabrielle? I don't know if she's muted. Gabrielle, can you hear us? Okay, we have one more person joining. Let's go on to Keith if he is there. Hi, Keith.
Hi. Yeah, I was having trouble with my sound. I just was able to log on, well, to get my sound working. So are you
Good
guys
timing.
are you guys doing introductions?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So I am Keith Clark. I am a finance professional. I am looking to transition more into project management, and just wanted to learn more about Dynamics. So I'm just interested to, learn more and meet folks in the industry.
Thank you, Keith, and we are looking forward to getting to know you too.
Thank you.
Keith, what company are you with?
Well, I was with my previous companies were Walmart and Lowe's, but right now I am a free agent of sorts.
Excellent.
I saw Nancy join, but I think she's dropped. Nancy, are you there? Can't see you. Philip, can you go next if that's okay?
Yeah, hi there. Sorry, I just jumped off for another quick call, real short. So my name is Philip Seaton. I am a fast track solutions architect at Microsoft. I've been working with Dynamics for a little over 10 years now. I started as an internal IT manager for an end user as part of a AX 2012 implementation. Sat there for several years, helping them maintain their system, going from 2012 RTM to R2 to R3. Moved to the partner channel when I wanted to get my hands on D365 because my previous employer still hasn't upgraded. And after several years in that channel, I ended up finding my way to Microsoft roughly a year ago.
Thank you. Gabrielle, do you want to try again? I can try unmuting you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Awesome. I was in the middle of introducing myself and then I went to somebody else, so I didn't know.
Sorry about that. Really sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, so my name is Gabby. I'm with KTL Solutions. Our headquarters is in Frederick, Maryland, but I'm located in Raleigh, as well as my VP of Sales and Marketing, Stephen Reed. He was supposed to join, but he's also stuck somewhere, not due to weather issues. But I joined the company about 2 years ago. I used to be a teacher, so this is pretty all new to me. But yeah, we work with customers who are still on SL, still on GP, and we are focusing on BC.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for unmuting and sharing.
Of course, thank you.
John? Just when you thought he could get away. Hi, John.
No, not at all. Hi, how are you? I'm John Oganowski. I am with a company called Green Shades. We're an ISV out of Jacksonville, Florida. I live in the Charlotte area. I'm in Cornelius up at Lake Norman. Been here almost a year. Next March 3rd makes a year coming up on that. Was originally in New Jersey. The weather is much better. I think I'm going to get out on the boat this afternoon because it'll be nice out. But I'm happy to be a part of this group. We are a tax and year-end forms partner with GP. It's been around for about 20 years. With the move with Business Central, now we actually have a full payroll HR solution also. That's still in-house, but we have a unique way that we process people's taxes for them. Different than the traditional service bureaus like the ADPs and Paylocities out there. So that's us and me.
Thank you, John. And yay, Lake Norman, I'm from that area too. So we got to give each other a pat on our back for living here. No snow.
No.
So I'll let you go and then we can hand it off to Kristen, our presenter.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm a technical specialist at Microsoft. So been with Microsoft for about 8 years. I'm in South Park in the Charlotte area, so not too far from the Charlotte office. So I started off at Microsoft as an implementation consultant for F&O and then moved into Dynamics Commerce. So I haven't worked with BC or NAV, but really looking forward to learning all about it from you guys. So happy to be here and happy to meet everyone.
Thank you, Zoe. And Zoe is going to help us hopefully have an in-person event really soon, sometime this year. So thank you. We are looking forward to that and then seeing all of you face to face. Did I miss anyone before we give it to Kristen, the queen of the hour, right, for presenting? So did I miss anyone? No, Kristen, it's all yours. Thank you for presenting and thank you for being on this. So thank you.
All right. Well, awesome. Let's see. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys can see that. If not, go ahead and just let me know. But I was asked to give a presentation, and I was given pretty much free reign on whatever I wanted. So that was kind of cool, because typically when we go into these user group meetings, you know, the host or the leader will have some sort of an idea on what, you know, topics the meeting should be about. So if you guys have any topics or, you know, discussion items, things like that, that you want to learn about, make sure to let Mangela know, so that in future meetings that those can be focused on as well. So we want to keep this user group, you know, the meetings kind of focused on what you guys want to see, what you end users want to see, especially. Okay. So a little bit about me. My name is Kristen Hosman, and I was actually born and raised in Minnesota. George, there's a reason I do not live in Minnesota, and you are living through the worst nightmare possible right now. So I do feel for you. All my family and, you know, a lot of my lifelong friends are still in Minnesota, and yeah, they've just got dumped on with snow, and it's just not fun. But I've been in Denver, Colorado now for just over 6 years, and love it out there. It's a lot better temperature wise. I'm a 4-time Microsoft MVP. Hopefully I get renewed in July this year, but that is to be determined. So there are actually roughly about 38 MVPs that specialize in Business Central worldwide. And we have about, I think last time I counted, 7 or 8 of them are in the United States, and then the rest are kind of spread all over Europe. So kind of a cool thing there. And then my focus is on functional. So a lot of the developers in Europe actually are developers, so they're very technical. So there's still a lot of, you know, in the MVP space for BC, it's still pretty heavy developer, but we are getting a lot more functional MVPs. So that's pretty exciting. I won the 2022 DUG Guardian Award last year. That was voted on by the community. So thank you if you are one of the ones that voted for that. Appreciate it. And I'm also on the Dynamics User Group DUG Advisory Committee as well. So part of that is it's a volunteer role, and we talk about the community and how we can help the community as a whole, and talk about, you know, the programs and different things like that that we can offer to the community to help us grow. So today we are going to jump into Business Central, and I want to first start off and just kind of talk about personalizing Business Central, because there's several different ways you can personalize Business Central, and then we're going to kind of jump into some tips and tricks after that. Okay, so any questions before I get started? No? Okay, perfect. So let's first talk about personalizing. So like I said, there's several different ways. The system could be personalized by a developer, or an ISV solution may be installed, and that has certain personalizations as well. But what's really cool is that Microsoft has given the ability to the user to make their own personalizations. So today I'm going to focus on what a user personalization is, and then what a profile role personalization is, because they're really two different things in the system, and they both have different reasons on why they exist. Okay, so I'm sitting here on my landing page for Business Central. And if I'm an end user, there's a functionality called personalize. So if you come up to the settings up in the top right-hand corner right here, you're going to see personalize. And this, again, is based on security. So if you're not seeing the word personalize, it's just because your user security needs to allow you to see this. But what I can do is I can click personalize, and it's going to open up the personalizing, and I know it's open because of this gray banner across the top that tells me personalizing. There's also a little red a little red button, right? And that's the icon, meaning that something is being recorded. So you kind of see that on the Teams meeting today, that it's being recorded, and that's really what that means. So anything that I do in the system while it's in personalization mode, as far as like adding fields to a page, removing fields, kind of moving things around, that's all being recorded now at this point. Now, this is called a user personalization. So when you come up to the settings and you click personalize, anything that I do from here on out is only going to affect my user being the person that's logged in on this specific PC. So personalizing is just one of those tools, I think, that a lot of people don't even know it exists. I think a lot of people get trained on Business Central, and they just get trained on this is what you do, this is where you click, and so forth, right? So this is kind of one of those things that's overlooked. But if you're ever working in the system and you're like, oh, I hate the field, that field over there, logically it makes sense to, have it over here for me. Or you see something on the homepage and you're like, it's really not applicable to me. I want to hide it, but I don't know how. That's where personalization is going to come into play, right? So, for example, on my homepage, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down. Now, there's a lot of stuff on this homepage, and the reason it looks the way it does, the look and feel of it, is because I'm actually logged in using the Business Manager. It says evaluation, but it's the same as the business manager role. So these role centers right here are going to dictate what your landing page and maybe like the look and the feel of where buttons are and things like that are housed. So if your homepage looks a little bit different than mine, it's probably because you are assigned a different profile role, and or maybe you've already personalized it. But for this example, I'm just going to continue scrolling down here, and you can see all of these tiles that have the lines through it. That means that those are hidden. So if I hover over that, I can see this part is currently hidden. And let's say that, my organization was actually using time cards in the system, and we needed to review timesheets or something like that. I can come up to this caret off in the right-hand corner, and I can click on that, and I can say show. Now what it's going to do is it's going to remove kind of that gray out, saying that it's hidden, and I'm going to be able to see that now. So you can actually come down even further, and let's say, Power BI reports. Well, that's not really something that I've implemented yet, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that section. So now we kind of start here with these bigger tiles with favorite accounts, trial balance. We have the My Job queue as well. And then we have a report inbox as well. The other really nice thing here is that I can move these tiles around. So if I want trial balance to show before favorite accounts, you can just drag and drop. Okay, so let me show you a couple other examples of how this would work. I'm going to go into the customer list for this one. So I'm going to click on customers, and then I'm going to click open. Now, keep in mind that I'm still recording. So you can kind of see this red bar right here. It's also an indicator that I'm in personalization mode. But let's say in my customers list, I don't really want to see responsibility center. So I'm going to remove that. I don't want to see location code, remove that. Maybe the phone number makes more sense to have it after the contact. Okay, so keep in mind that the developers of Business Central, they're developers and they do a great job, but they're not accountants. They're not working in the system daily. So when I'm training a new user, I'm training them on personalization and telling them, organize it in a way that it makes sense to you. Okay. And kind of take out all the noise. And what I mean by take out all the noise is that when you're in a specific window, for example, customer card, there is a lot of information in this specific window that maybe is not applicable to you, your organization, or just, your role, right? come in here and just clean it up and make it nice, crisp, to the point, right? So kind of take out all of the noise is what I say. You can also hide things up in the menu bars. So if this stuff was not applicable to me, I can just come up and hide it. And then when I get out of personalization mode, everything is going to be hidden. Okay. If you get to a point and you're like, oh, I just hid something and I need it back, you can just come in here, click on it, and say show. Okay. If you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what I did, it's just totally broken, I want to start fresh. Within the customer card, I can come up to clear personalization and I can say, clear everything. Let's just go back to out of the box Business Central with no customizations whatsoever, and let's just start fresh. So there's a lot of ability here for the user to really make the system look and feel the way that makes sense to them. Okay. Kind of going off of that, there's a couple other cool things that I want to show you. So let's go into a purchase invoice. Let me go ahead and hide my fact box. And then what I'm going to do up in this general section, I'm just going to click show more. Now, again, there is a lot of information here that as an accounts payable person, I don't care about it, right? I only care about making sure that I'm selecting the correct vendor. And I only care about putting in the invoice date and the invoice number. Okay, so one of the things you can do here is you can come in and you can actually remove all of these fields that come direct from the vendor card. Okay, so we're just going to kind of clean this up, and I want to show you something really cool here that not a lot of people are aware that the functionality even exists. Okay. So we're going to get this cleaned up, and then in a perfect world, we would delete all of these as well. So let's get that cleaned up, not that one. Clean this up as well. Okay. And let's say, okay, document number is really important to me, and also vendor invoice number, right? So these two fields right here are really important to me. So I'm going to kind of put them in logical order, right? So if I was an accounts payable clerk person, I'm going to open this window, select my vendor, and then the next thing that I care about is my document number and then my invoice number, okay? So one of the things here, when I click on this red caret, I want to talk about a little bit of these actions. So we have move and remove. So the move is going to be like the drag and drop, kind of put it where you want it. The remove is going to hide it. So maybe remove is not the best word, but it's really just hiding it, right? And then show under, show more, show when collapsed, and exclude from quick entry. So, this little show more, show less. Okay. So when I click show more, I'm seeing all the fields. And when I click show less, it looks a little bit, or that was show more, but show less, show more, right? So you can see that things are changing based on me doing that. So if I'm an accounts payable clerk, I probably want everything to be maybe show more, so that when I am in this window, I'm not having to click show more, show less type thing. So maybe that's something that you want to think about. And then also there's a functionality here called exclude from quick entry. And what that means is, as you navigate through this window, if you click tab on your keyboard or you click enter on your keyboard, it will logically guide you through all of those fields. So you can see here, I'm just clicking enter on my keyboard, and logically it's going from one field to the next in really the order I want it to, right? So maybe like posting date, I would want to exclude, and due date, I would want to exclude, just because those are going to come from the vendor card. So now you can see as I click enter, when I get past vendor invoice number, it's taking me directly down to the line section now because I've excluded those two fields. So when you think about data entry and trying to make yourself be as proficient or fast as possible, personalizing to hide fields, put them in a logical order that makes sense to you, and using that include quick entry and exclude quick entry is really going to make your world a lot easier, right? Because you can just use the keyboard and you're not having to get your mouse and click on things. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and click done. I'm done personalizing at this point. But I want to take a moment here to kind of talk about what we just did, because I think it's really important to understand that everything that I just did right now under that user personalization only affects me as a user. So when Angela, who is also in accounts payable, and she sits next to me, when she goes into her system to enter in her transactions, it's going to be straight out of the box. She's not going to have any of those personalizations how I did. Okay. And why is that really such a big deal? Well, if you're an organization that prides themselves on keeping some sort of process documentation up to date, it's kind of a nightmare when you have users then that have their system look different from other people, because it's not going to jive with maybe, some training documents that you have, screenshots, different things like that. It also makes kind of sharing work and or well, not sharing work, but like employees helping other employees learn. It makes it a little bit more difficult because if I'm training Angela, my, workmate over here, how to do something, and I go to her computer and her system is set up differently than mine, then I'm just going to be sitting there kind of trying to look for fields and different things like that on her screen, and it's going to be a little bit confusing, right? So user personalizations are great, but I don't think that it is necessarily maybe the way that organizations should structure the system. Okay. So one of the things that I do is, I always show user personalizations, because there's always going to be that one user that is going to love that they can hide a field that's not applicable, right? But maybe what organizations actually want to look at is they want to look at something called profile role. Okay, so if I come up to tell me what you want to do, and I click on profile roles, these are going to be all of the out of the box default profile roles. So for example, if you recall earlier, when I went into my settings, we could see that my role was set to business manager evaluation. Okay, so because I'm in the Chronos test company is why it says evaluation, and I'm in the sandbox environment. Okay, but the one that's going to be in your production environment is going to just be business manager. So let's say that I am a super user, and maybe I'm a manager, maybe I'm someone in, an IT administrator, someone like that, or, maybe I am just an accounts payable clerk, but I'm tasked with kind of keeping the system uniform, right? In a sense of if something needs to be hidden or moved or shown, I'm going to come into the profile rules and I'm going to set it up so that at a global level, anyone who has the business manager role assigned to them is going to see those changes. And this is great for companies that are brand new to Business Central, because as a trainer, we record all of our training sessions. So anytime that a user goes back to watch a training session, if we're all on the same page, then we're going to be able to see apples to apples, right? So the screen that the users are seeing in that training video is going to match exactly what they see in the video, or maybe it could be the documentation, right? Kind of going back to that example as well. And then training users within the organization, everybody is on the same page, right? So let me show you how to modify this as well. So I'm going to focus on this business manager one. Now, any of the out of the box ones, you're not technically allowed to go in and modify them. You have to make a copy. So what I do as a consultant is I basically usually just start with the business manager one, because that's really the one that has the most information applicable to like supervisors and managers when I go to train. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to click on that one to select it. And then I'm going to say copy profile. And I'm going to get this window that pops up asking me to give it a profile ID and a display name. So I'm just going to go ahead and name it DUG Meetup, and click OK. Now, in a perfect world, you're going to name this maybe like accounts payable, account receivable, accountant. Think of those different roles within your organization and tailor the windows specifically to those groups of people, because they all have different roles and they all need access to different windows in the system. So if you can cater it to those specific groups, then you're going to have more success with this. Okay. So we have this set up, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on DUG to get it open. Okay. Let's hide our little fact box over here. So a couple things in here. We do have a description here as well. So if you have a specific description that you want listed there, you could put that in there as well. We have an enabled toggle, whether it's going to be enabled or not, and then show in role explorer. Okay, so in order for this to show in the role explorer, we do have to have that turned on. And what that does is it allows it to show up here in the role, in the available role center. Okay, so then we see DUG Meetup is up there right now. Okay, so without that turned on, you're not going to see it. There's also use as default profile. You can turn that on as well, and then you can disable. The use as default profile is going to be a functionality that allows you to automatically assign this specific role center to anybody who doesn't have one assigned yet. Okay, so like any new users would get this automatically assigned. Anybody who's in the system today without a role center would also get that assigned automatically. So this is just kind of one of those cool features, again, to kind of keep everybody on the same page. But you probably wouldn't turn this on if you have multiple role centers set up for different groups or different user, areas. You'd probably want to keep that off. So once you have the profile role card set up, we are now ready to start updating, modifying, changing, personalizing, and all of the above role. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click customize pages. Once I do that, I'm going to get another tab in my web browser that opens up. So this is already kind of acting quite a bit different than what we saw with the user personalization, that first example that I showed. So this method still has that gray bar going across, but now it has a lock. Okay, so it's telling me that this page is currently locked and I can't customize it. I have to actually unlock it in order to do the personalizations. Okay, and then that little recording button that we saw on the previous example, now that's showing. So now that means whatever I do right now is going to be recorded. Okay, but keep in mind, whatever I do right now is affecting just that profile role. Again, it's not affecting me as a user, but it's affecting that profile role, okay? And you can go through the whole system and you can modify, remove, you know, as much as you want at this point. And then when you're done, you're just going to click done. It's going to let you know that the customization is saved successfully, and then that you can close the browser tab. Okay, so now we just have this other tab still open. I'm going to go ahead and click the back arrow just to get back to that home page. Okay, so now if I want to go back into my settings and open up DUG Meetup, it is now going to be refreshed with all of the customizations that I just did in that last example. Okay, so you know, who should really focus on this type of stuff? I would say, you know, when you're in an implementation, you know, as a consultant, you know, having your super users or maybe subject matter experts, whoever is kind of head of those departments, and then also, you know, taking feedback from the end users, just making sure that their voices are heard and where they want things and whatnot is key. Okay. Any questions about personalizing before we move on? Okay, all right. So let's jump into the next segment of our meeting and jump through here real fast. So I have a list of tips and tricks here, and I'll give this screenshot here to the chapter leader so that we can actually share this. But I'm going to jump through these pretty fast because I think we have about 30 minutes left, and I want to keep time for questions at the end. So I'm just going to go through these really fast, and then if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and then we can get to them at the end, okay? So tips and tricks on trying to make your life a little bit easier is kind of where I was going with my thought process on this. So the first one on the list is going to be company badge. So for the longest time, the only way to change companies in Business Central was to come into the My Settings and then click on companies. Okay, so for the longest time, that actually was the only way to change a company. But with the latest update of Business Central, the latest major update, so that would have been fall of 2022, we now have the available companies up in the top right-hand corner. So if you're not seeing that in your environment, it's because you're on an older version. But when I click on that, it's showing me the available companies that I have access to, me as a user. So, you know, your manager may have access to other companies and their list is a little bit longer than yours, but this is just what you have access to. And it is broken out by environment as well. So we can see here that I have two separate environments. I have a production environment, which is where I'm doing my day-to-day activity. And then I also have a sandbox, you know, somewhere where I can play around in, okay? But when I go ahead and I expand it, these circles with the different colors and text in them, that's called a company badge. So what Microsoft has done here is they've made it really easy for you to visually see really what company you're in, okay? So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you where you can update that. Again, if you don't have access to this window, it's just because of security. You'd want to go to maybe the IT admin or find someone in the office that has the security rights to this window. But what I'm looking for is company information under the settings. And if you can also just type in company settings within here as well, and then it will pop up for you there as well. Okay. So company information. And when I scroll down in this window, the company badge is going to be towards the bottom. So this specific company badge is set to none. I'm going to go ahead and make that a custom one. And then let's see what color best represents this company. Let's go with a bright purple. And the company badge text is going to be 6 characters. Okay, it used to only be 4, but with the latest update, Microsoft did give us 2 extra characters, which is also pretty nice. So I'm just going to put Doug in here, and I'm going to go ahead and click the back arrow. The company badge settings have changed. Refresh the browser. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click refresh up here. If I had my normal keyboard at home, I would have just hit F5 on my keyboard to refresh. And now we can see in the top right hand corner that I now have that company badge. So again, just a really nice indicator to tell me what company I'm logged into. Okay, so I'm not really sure on the logic behind why is it a square versus a circle. My guess would be sandbox is going to be square and production environments is going to be circles, just based on what I'm seeing here. Okay. The next tip that I have for you is called copy paste. So if you're not aware, within the system, wherever you see grids like this, like where you can enter in data, so it might be a general journal, it might be like a dimension values list, you can actually copy paste. So if I come into this specific window and I highlight everything and then do a Control C, it's going to go ahead and copy those 4 rows. Okay, so the cool thing is then when I go into Excel and I paste it in Excel, I now have all of the information that I was just entering into Business Central in Excel, and I can do all the changes that I want in Excel. I can copy paste from another spreadsheet into Excel. The important thing with copy paste is that whatever layout you have in BC, and when I say layout, I mean like columns. So we start with posting date, then we go to document number, account type, and so forth. That layout needs to match Excel perfectly, left to right. And then what you can do is you can just copy everything in Excel. You can open up the window in BC, click on the next row down, and do a Control V for paste. And as a consultant, like this is one of the things that I train my clients on right away during implementation, because this is something that they can help with when we're bringing over like their GL history. They can help us by just, copy pasting everything in. It teaches them how to use the functionality. It gets them into the system early. So it's just something that is easily learnable, but it's a huge time saver because you can copy paste. Okay. Kind of piggybacking off of copy paste is going to be the standard journal. So you can see here that I'm probably doing a payroll entry based on the entries that I have in here and what they're called. So we're dealing with salaries expense, payroll tax expense, and so forth. So clearly doing a payroll entry. Now, if I had payroll like an ISV solution kind of bolted in to Business Central, it would be creating this entry, automatically, right? Like that's part of the solution. But in this case, my payroll entry is manual for me every 2 weeks, but it's something that is repetitive. So when you think about tasks that you're doing over and over, try and think about how can we automate it? How can we make it faster? Okay, so that's where I'm going with this next tip. So if I have an entry like this that I do all the time, build out your template in the journal like this. So just get everything in there line wise on what it needs to be. Maybe add any dimensions that you have off to the right over here as well, so that it's your template. It's built out, right? Within the general journal, I can come to actions, functions, save as a standard journal. And what you can do here is you can give it a name. So payroll dim, and dim just means dimensions, that I have dimensions in there. So payroll with dimensions. Okay. And then you can tell the system, well, do you want to save the amount? Or do you want to maybe have the amount be 0 every time, you know, you come to the system and use this? Payroll is a perfect example of one where you're going to want to have it be 0 because the payroll amounts change all the time. But maybe you're doing like month-end accruals or, you know, reclasses, different things like that on a pretty frequent basis. Then you would have that amount saved just to save a little bit of time. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK on this. And now it's been saved successfully. So what that means is if I was to come into a blank general journal moving forward, now I can come up to home and then get standard journals. So Microsoft with the modern action bar, one of the latest minor updates, moved get standard journals from underneath actions functions. So it used to be over here. If you ever see any older documentation, it'll tell you to go over here. But with that new modern action bar, it is sitting here under the home. So I'm going to go ahead and say get standard journals, and I'm going to click on that payroll dimension one because I want to make sure that the payroll entry has the dimensions included. And now you can see that that entry is populated here, and everything that I saved before is here as well. So this is just one of those scenarios that's really going to help you with your data entry and making sure that things are consistent across the board. So maybe the descriptions, you know, you're noticing that people aren't being consistent with descriptions. If you can build it out as a template and use standard journals, then that's really going to be really helpful for your team. Staying within the general journals, actually, we're going to do this next example through a purchase invoice. Okay, so going into the purchase invoice, let's say that I have a purchase invoice that needs to be entered, and it's for a subscription, and we're paying for a 12-month subscription, and we want the system to handle all the amortizations, meaning we want the system to know that this initial expense needs to go to prepaid expenses, but that it's for a 12-month period. So does anybody know about this deferral? This deferral capability within the system? Anybody using it? I think Angela, you're the only end user on the call. Are you using this functionality today?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is just one of those, for some reason, it's like one of those things where people don't know about, unfortunately. But in this scenario, I know I'm hitting advertising expense, but think of it as like a dues and subscriptions. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to enter in this vendor invoice, and I'm going to say, okay, we're paying for 12 months. Each month is $80. Okay. Now, out of the box, you're not going to see a deferral field off to the right. So you can see kind of me just going back and forth here. You don't see it. So this is one of those scenarios where making sure that the profile role personalization is updated, because you'd want all of your AP clerks to see it. But for this example, I'm just going to do a user personalization. Let's see if I can find it. Is it over there? Deferral. So I'm clicking in the line section. There we go. Deferral code. Okay. And I'm just going to dump it in here. Give it a second to wake up. It's going to go. Should be able to just drag and drop. I think we're going to have issues. Okay, live demo. sandbox environment. Maybe this is a bug. It's a good thing that I have Microsoft on speed dial. I'm going to have to let them know about this because typically you can just drag and drop over here and it's going to bring that field in. Okay. You get the idea on that, but let me just go to the deferral. Let's just go to the deferral card. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to set it up because I think it's important. Maybe it's just an internet issue. You guys can still hear me okay, right?
Yes, Kristen, we can still hear you.
Okay, I'm sitting here like on hotel, hotel Wi-Fi. Okay, let me go ahead and just try and refresh this window and see if it'll kick it off for me. Because this is a pretty good tip, I think, if you have situations where you need to amortize things out. So we're gonna go up to deferral templates, and I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new one. And for this example here, I'm gonna just call this like 12-month dues and subscriptions. So dues and subscriptions, 12-month. Okay. And the reason I'm being specific in here is just because you may have different scenarios where you may have like a prepaid insurance or a prepaid rent or prepaid expense account. You want to make sure that whatever that specific account name is, maybe you utilize that somewhere in the deferral code or the description, because this deferral account over here is going to be where you're putting that prepaid account. So I know it doesn't make sense to do dues and subscriptions to an insurance account, but we're going to use that one in this example. Okay. So what I'm basically saying is that anytime I use this deferral code, the prepaid account associated with it is going to be account number 10600. From here, we're going to tell the system that we want to deferral out 100% and that we're doing straight line. Now, there's a couple other ones in here as well, so you can figure out which one works best for your company. And if you're not sure, then do it in a test company first just to see what it does. Now, this one, the start date, I'm going to say, let's see, what is the date today? Today's the 23rd. So maybe it's my company policy that anything, dues and subscription related, we want it to hit the beginning of the next period. Okay, so if you want to have a specific one, you can go ahead and put that in there as well. Okay.
Kristen, you
So
were
now we
breaking
have this
up
card
just a
set
little
up.
bit.
Yeah, we
Okay.
lost you for a second.
Yep. I would recommend maybe taking your maybe stop sharing
Camera.
your camera. Yeah, that might help. You have been freezing off and on as well too. your face still, your facial expressions. I think we can hear you good now.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible. It was just starting to break up a tiny bit.
Okay. Yeah, I think, hotel internet. So let's see if this is better. So any questions on the deferral template card before I go on to the next step? Pretty straightforward, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and click back. And let's see now if I can add that field real fast here. So I'm going to just come into personalization and I'm going to say add field. Let me see if we can get it over here. Oh, it is already there. Okay, so it worked. It just froze on me earlier. Okay, so when I'm entering in a vendor invoice on this specific line, like I was saying, we have 12 months at $80. I can come onto the deferral code and select which one it is. Okay. there's this ellipsis off to the right, which lets you review or update. So I can come in here now and I can actually see the amount to defer is $960. We're going to do it across 12 months. And if you remember, we wanted it to start at the beginning of the next period. So the system automatically knows that the next period is May 1st, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to build that out. So what does this do? Okay, let's go ahead and preview the posting and see what the system is trying to do. So we have an error message that I need to select a dimension value code 10 for area. So let me go ahead and find the dimension code. I think that is an out of the box one. Whoops, wrong one. An out of the box in Chronos. Hopefully it'll let us post this. No, we're gonna get that same error for dimension code area. Okay, so what this is gonna do is it's going to post $960 to prepaid expense, so an asset account. But it's also then on the first of every single month going to post the entry out of prepaid expenses to the expense account advertising expense. Okay. And that happens automatically. The system just does it. The only thing that needs to be set up in order for that to happen is if you're going to be going out 10 months. So in this case, you know, we're journaling out to the beginning of April 2024. We need to make sure that in our general ledger setup window that we have the ability to post out that far. So if your accounting team or accounting manager only lets you post to the current period, then posting using deferrals to the future isn't going to work because you're not allowed to do that. So if that's the case, this is going to be your global posting setup. There's also within user setup, the ability to tell the system that, hey, for this specific user, we want to allow them to post all the way through the end of next year. And then that takes care of the posting issue on the deferrals. It allows that specific user to be able to post in the future. Okay. Any questions on deferrals before I jump on to the next one? No? Okay. Some other tips and tricks here is keep in mind that Business Central does play very well with not only Excel, but with Teams and Outlook. So there is an Outlook integration that works with your Outlook, either, you know, the desktop version or the cloud version. It is an integration that allows you, once you get an email in from, let's say, a customer or a vendor, you can click on the BC icon and it'll give you a little bit of information about who it is, where it came from, you know, if it's a customer, do they have past due balance on their account? So that Office integration is really, really helpful. The other thing it will do is, let's say that you receive a purchase order from a customer. It can allow you to kind of push that information into Business Central, and Business Central will try and read that purchase order that they sent and try and create that purchase order, or actually it would be a sales order for a customer within the system. So if you're not using that functionality and you're getting a ton of stuff in email and then having to convert it into Business Central, maybe that's something that you want to look at. The Excel integrations is just an add-on in Excel. So for example, I'm in the vendor list. If I say open in Excel, it's going to kick everything in the grid over to Excel for me to, you know, analyze, maybe run a pivot table, something like that on. If I do edit in Excel, it's going to allow me to make any changes to the vendor list or the vendor card through Excel and then publish it back to Business Central. Okay, so if you've never used Excel before, when you open it, you are going to get a little add-on over here on the right-hand side where you're going to have to install the add-on. Go ahead and do that. And then anytime you open this after that, you're going to just have to sign in to that tenant. So everything is using your Microsoft login, which is really nice. Again, it's that kind of seamless integration between the Microsoft suite. In this case, we can see I have the vendor card list opened up. And again, personalizing, you can actually personalize the look and feel of this as well. So for example, there's a couple fields here that maybe I don't really care about. I can come into design. It tells me we're looking at the vendor card table. I'm going to click the little edit button over here. Here's my fields that are available and what is selected. I can come in here and I can actually remove these from the list and then say update. And it's going to go ahead and refresh that list into, kind of the order of things that I want it to be in. One of the most important things about edit in Excel is that you can't just come up here and say, cut and then move this somewhere else. Okay, you have to go through the design to do it. Otherwise, you break the linking of the spreadsheet and it won't work anymore. And to that point as well, you can't just come up here and say delete, or you can't come in and say insert and just insert a new thing. It all has to be done through design in order for it to work. Once you get these spreadsheets the way you want them layout wise, you can just save them to your local machine or save them on a SharePoint. And then if you ever have to update anything in mass, you can just go and open it. It'll connect to your Business Central environment and your company, and then you can make your changes. So you would just come in here and make your changes, and then you would say publish. All right. The next thing I'm going to touch on here is working with dates. Okay. And for this example, I'm going to go into the general ledger entries window. And this is a window that I, in fact, go to quite frequently. So off to the right here, I'm going to click this little bookmark so that next time I don't have to come search for it. I can just have it on my homepage in the bookmark section. Make it a little bit faster for me to get to. But here we have this search button right here. Now, this search button is amazing because not only does it look at the descriptions, but it'll actually look at amounts as well. So if you're looking for specific amounts, you can come up here and you can type in your amounts, and it's actually going to filter and only show you what it's finding. Okay. There's a couple things in here as well, is it will look for dates. So if I come in here and I say 04/01/23, it knows that that's a date. And now it's just showing me the dates. I can put in here P1 for period 1, and now it's showing me everything for period 1. So instead of going 01/01/22 through, let's see, through 01/31/2022, that took me a long time to type. I can just do P1 period 1, P2 period 2. W1 is going to be week 1, week 2, week 3. So for you in manufacturing that kind of deal with weeks, that's a nice one as well. Okay. A couple other things here under search is going to be maybe you're looking for something that has the word, let's see, a lot of this stuff looks like it's direct cost. Okay, here's one. Okay, let's say that we're looking for something that has the word INV in it. I can come up here and put in INV. It's only going to show me the stuff that has INV. Now, this search right here is actually really, really good because you don't have to use a lot of wildcards. But let's say that you're looking for something that has INV in it, but it doesn't necessarily start with INV. You'd put an asterisk in front of it. And that's kind of a wild card. And then maybe you're looking for something that has INV within it and you want a wild card after it. So you could put an asterisk there as well. The @ symbol is going to make it non-case sensitive. Now, in the general ledger entries window, for some reason, this search is pretty good. But if you are doing, let's say, like a bank reconciliation and you're searching off descriptions in there, that for some reason is very case sensitive. So you do have to remember to use the @ symbol. But within this window, it's not case sensitive. So a little bit of differences within a couple windows, and I have reported that to Microsoft as well. So hopefully they get, all the search functionality within the system kind of working uniformly. But just keep that in mind that there are those wildcards there as well. And let's see, we have about 5 minutes left, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So what else can I get in here? Dimensions. So let's talk about dimensions real fast. So a couple tips and tricks around dimensions is that you have a global 1, global 2, which is going to be showing everywhere in the system. And even on reporting, you're going to be able to filter on those. If you need to report on more than just those dimensions, then you could use what's called analysis views. And within analysis views, you can also use those within your financial reporting, and it makes it so you have up to 4 dimensions that you can report off of. So that's a good tip there. And then also within dimensions, I want to talk about account type default dimension. So if you have dimensions that are required in your system, you can come into these windows and you can say, okay, for area dimension, if you remember when I was trying to post that purchase invoice earlier, it was yelling at me because it was saying that area was required. And this is why, because within this window, we are telling the system that for area dimension, it is mandatory. Okay, so you can tell the system at a dimension level if it's mandatory, if it should be the same code every single time. Okay, so here you can see that for vendors, it always needs to be 10. And that was the error that we were getting on that message, was that, the vendor or that specific document was missing the area dimension code 10. That was the error message we were getting. And it was because of this setup right here. Okay. The other thing with dimensions that a lot of people are not aware of is that there is something called dimension combinations. What this does is it allows you to tell the system what dimension combinations are allowed and not allowed. So for example, you can see that the area dimension has some limits when it comes to the business group. So if someone is trying to enter in a transaction with a combination of dimensions that is not acceptable, then the system is actually going to yell at them and not let them post that transaction. So this is going to be great for organizations that really have a lot of different combinations that maybe struggle with them being put in correctly. Okay. Also keep in mind that dimensions flow from the subledgers, so customers, vendors, items, and so forth. At a customer level, item level, vendor level, you can actually come into the dimensions window underneath their card, and you can also set up the default dimensions here as well. So for this specific customer, area dimension 70 is mandatory, and then we're kind of defaulting the other dimensions codes based on, you know, really what is used the most. Okay, so when your users are in the system transacting then with this specific customer, they don't need to sit there and wonder, well, what should the dimension value be? The system already knows what it's going to be. It's going to be automatically put there. And then the last thing that I want to cover is reoccurring purchase lines. There's also a reoccurring sales lines. So same concept, just one's for purchasing, one's for sales. But let's say that you have an invoice for electricity that comes every single month. Okay. And that specific invoice always gets coded to the same account number, right? So what you can do is you can build up your template and you can assign it to vendors so that when employees go ahead and enter in those purchase invoices, everything is automatic. Okay. So in this scenario, I'm just setting up a template saying electricity goes to utilities expense. If you have specific dimensions that you want to assign, I'm going to go ahead and personalize here because out of the box, there's an important field, two important fields really that are missing. So the amount and then the unit of measure. Okay, so when you think about purchasing and then sales reoccurring entries, you might want to add those two fields. But let's say that electricity is the same amount every single month. I'm going to go ahead and put that amount in there. And if I have a unit of measure, I could put that in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save that as a reoccurring purchase lines. And then let's go to the vendor card and let's select Fabricam. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say related purchases, reoccurring purchase lines. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the system that, hey, anytime I interact with this vendor, I want those reoccurring purchase lines to automatically show up on the invoice. Okay. Now, if you have multiple purchase lines or reoccurring purchase lines assigned to a vendor, you can say always ask, and I'll show you where that pops up. But let's go ahead and just get that in there. And let's go ahead and create a new purchase invoice and see what happens. So now, anytime that I select that vendor and I click out of that vendor name, those purchase lines automatically show up in here. So again, this is just another way to kind of streamline and make things automatic so that less user error, but it's also making it way quicker for your accounts payable team to enter in that invoice because everything is already here. They can still change the dollar amount if something comes in, you know, with a different dollar amount, or you could just save that reoccurring purchase line with no dollar amount and then kind of force them to have to put that in there. Okay, but that's just another quick thing for your users. So on that note, what questions, I know we didn't go through all of them, but what questions do you guys have regarding tips and tricks? Or just anything in general? I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn my camera on. Hopefully we can get some dialogue going here.
Even anything you would like to see in future. I think Kristen mentioned this right in the beginning. It's you, right? What do you want? What do you want to see? What did you like? What do you want more of?
And do any of you, are you willing to present at a future one? Maybe you have a topic that you would like to present, or even maybe co-present you're not comfortable presenting?
I can bring in some people to present kind of topics that I work with on my team. You know, if there's something in particular people wanted to see, it'd be great if we had some good things to help us market this stuff, like on LinkedIn, you know, get some posts out to help drive actual, user attendance. That might be something helpful. There's a graphic that doesn't get lost in the LinkedIn chat feed. Something catchy.
Yeah, and I
Just
can
an
help
idea.
you with that, George. That's a great idea. We can work together, maybe come up with something. The more we get the word out, and if you guys liked this and want to share it with your team members or anyone you know, please let us know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have from my time in Charlotte, I got a lot of local LinkedIn connections, you know, and a lot of them be GP nav, all kind of stuff, but I don't keep in touch with all of them day to day. But you know, if we had a nice little posting, it might pop up in their feed and they go, hey.
Kristen, thank you for your time. Thank you for staying back in the hotel and doing this for us. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll send out, I think, a note afterwards letting you know, getting your feedback, and you know, anonymously if you don't want to share it here with us. And we'll also set up another meeting maybe in a few months.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
you.
Bye.